Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Motivate You, the Winner Circle here, your host, June Archer. Today, my very special guest is not just a guest. She's a great friend of mine doing some amazing things. And she's been doing this since college when I first met her at the University of Connecticut,
Yes, sir.
doing her thing, and she is still doing it. Please welcome to the show, Renee Montgomery. Renee, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm hyped. You know I'm hyped to be here with you. Thank you for having me. We go way back. So it's crazy to see the evolution and where we're sitting, both of us right now. So I like it.
And we were just talking off camera, talking about, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it and everything that comes along with it, good, bad, and different. So I will first like to say congratulations on everything that you're doing and very proud of everything that you've been doing as a woman of color, and as a role model. So with that said, I want to say, how have you been doing through this COVID situation? Because it kind of begins the story of fight or flight as well as faith. So I want to ask you how you've been during quarantine.
I've been good during quarantine. I've basically been creating. So when the quarantine first started, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do some fun videos in the house. I went from calling college games for ESPN, G League games for ESPN, so we're all just sitting in the house. So I went from like traveling all week, every week to like, okay, I'm bored in the house and I'm in the house bored. So it was like, what am I going to do? And I thought I'm just going to work on my brand, my personal brand. And so the quarantine actually was good for me because I had time to sit down and work on things that I wanted to do personally.
No, that's amazing because those videos, especially during this time, were somewhat of a breath of fresh air, some comedic relief, and you looked like you were having fun doing it. And you were exciting the people around you. And to me, that was the blessing in just having this time to kind of spend it with family, friends, and loved ones to kind of figure out how we can actually make those relationships even stronger, right? Yeah. So I commend you for that. I want to ask you this. You have now stepped into the realm of activists as well as TV personality. I want to talk about the activist part first. You left your job. You quit your job, your day job. People say, don't quit your day job. You quit your day job, and you've been blessed because of it. I want to talk just a little bit about why you felt the need to stand up for equality and all the things that came with it due to the past recent events and events and just historically. So I just want to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, it was difficult because I've been playing basketball. Look, I worked hard my whole life to be a professional athlete. I started at 10, just like everybody else. I was playing AAU every day. And so leaving basketball wasn't just leaving my day job. It was actually leaving like my hobby, my passion, something I worked my whole career for. So when people, saw what I did, they thought of it more as a financial, hit, which it was because as you said, I opted out of this 2020 season with no job. Like I didn't have a next check coming. I just opted out. So people were like, what? You tripping, girl? And I was just like, we're going to figure it out. And I didn't have a plan, but people didn't really think about how me opting out of basketball. That aspect was tough too. So as I told you, I was doing different things in the house and I'm like, well, let me work on my brand while I'm still trying to be a catalyst for the movement. And that's kind of what my thought process was going into it. I didn't know what I was going to do when I opted out. I just knew that my heartstrings were pulling me towards like trying to do something different.
Now, I want to talk about the motivation and the inspiration piece behind that, because you have been amazing at this craft for quite some time. You just said 10 years old, AAU. A lot of people don't understand all the work that goes into it, the dedication, the blood, the sweat, the tears, as the phrase goes. How hard was it though? Like, what did you lean on when you say, I'll ask this, Renee, how hard is it to get to the level that you got to then say to yourself, you know what, I will give it all up because I really believe in this thing?
Man, people don't know. Women's basketball is the hardest league to get in. There's 144 spots. So there's 12 teams in the WNBA, 12 players per team. 144 people will be able to play professional basketball as a woman. So just knowing that, think about how many college teams there are. Think about how many conferences there are. Think about just how many players want to continue their path to be a professional WNBA player. it's hard. And so for me to work my whole life to get there, that's that thought process. I was working my whole life to be a 144. You know, that one of the 144. That's what I wanted. I went to UConn and I thought, all right, I'm a step closer to being one of the 144, but I still got to show and prove. But at least I'm on a platform where this can funnel me to that. And then when I got to UConn, as people know, everybody knows UConn to be this powerhouse. But when I got there, you know, my first 3 years, we didn't win. Everybody asked me, how many championships did you win? Right when I tell them I went to UConn, they're like, oh, how many championships did you win? And I'm like, one. They're like, one? It's almost like they're disappointed.
You should at least have three at the very least.
Right, you see, so it's almost like people are like, you only got one? Yeah, it was hard. I was playing when Tennessee had Candace Parker, Alexis Hornbuckle, all these names. Duke was stacked with Monique Curry, Lindsey Harding. My conference had Rutgers, and it had Notre Dame. It had Louisville. I played in the championship game. Louisville was who we played against. That was a Big East team. So it was hard. It was hard to win in college. It was hard to get drafted. You know, everybody assumes you play at UConn. It's just not that easy. So I worked really hard, and I'm one of those people that I'll put the time in for something that I believe in. So it was, to answer your question, it was really hard.
Who were some of the people who inspired you to even think that far ahead to say, you know what, that number 144 is right there in front of me. Like I'm headed towards it. I'm aiming for it. Who were some of the people who inspired and motivated you to keep your eyes on that number?
I would say my family, you know, because we didn't have family vacations. Once I started playing AAU, that was the family vacation budget. That was my parents' vacation time. So my sisters, I have two older sisters. We no longer had those. We used to take a trip on a cruise every year. We didn't go to the cruise after that. You know, the cruise trip was now my AAU trips in a hot gym for 9 hours at a time. And my sisters never once complained. Like they were in the gym the loudest. They was ready to fight. If somebody said something about that little 21, they were ready to fight in the gym. So I would say they kept me motivated because like I knew that everybody was making a sacrifice for me. So that's what like drove me. I'm like, if everybody's going to put everything aside for me to try to reach my goals, yeah, I got to put on for the family. That's just kind of how I felt. So it wasn't even something they had to say. It was what they did.
For some of the young girls who are aiming for that number 144, and for those who are trying to make it in any field, to be the best, or even just getting to that opportunity to get their shot. Explain to me how do you take hard work and passion and put it together to be successful?
Discipline. There's that one thing that's in between of those. You can work hard, but if you're not working hard in the right way, you know, some people go to the gym, for example, some people go to the gym and they know that doing the drills, like the 2-ball dribbling drills and the crossovers and working on your ball handling, that's not fun, right? So when people go to the gym, they want to go to the gym. They want to shoot threes from Steph Curry range, and I should say Dame Lillard time. Like, you know, they want to shoot those far threes. They want to see if they can make the half court shots. That's not hard work. That's going to you're in the gym. You're in the gym and you are working, and maybe you are working hard, but you have to have that discipline to know what you need to fix. You have to look at yourself, critique yourself. That's not easy for people to do, but you have to look at yourself and see what are your weaknesses and then work on those. And that's where the discipline comes in, because everybody likes to do what they're good at because they're good at it. So you got to be disciplined enough to train yourself to do what you're not good at so that you're good at it later.
And what motivates you the most when you step out on that court? What is your focus? You know, we've heard as of, you know, lately, the Mamba mentality. What is your motivation? What motivates you to become the best that you can be? Because you're transitioning from basketball now to television, and we're going to jump into that. But I want to know what motivates you the most.
I would say two things. I have this pride about myself, so that's just in me. Like, so what motivates me is I don't like to look bad. So I know that if I like to be fully prepared in what I'm doing, because I don't like to go out there and look crazy no matter what I'm doing. And then the second thing that motivates me is people that believe in me. So I know a lot of people are motivated by their haters, and I'm kind of the opposite. Like anybody that's like, because there's people that rep you all the time. You know, there's people like, yeah, I know Renee. Yeah, we go way back. That's my girl. She's dope. She's so good. So those people that are repping me like that, a June Archer, who I've known for a long time and like got my back. I'm sitting here right now. Those are the people that like motivate me. I put on for them because I know that I want them to be like, yeah, I told you. I want them to be able to say that. So exactly. That's who I put on for.
Now, I always tell people your circle is super important. The village is super important. For those who are looking to do same thing, but now we've gotten a situation where COVID has hit. We've been hit with this kind of racial indifference that has set us back, I believe. I felt like we've been doing a lot of good work. Not that it hasn't been there, but I felt like we've kind of uprooted a lot of the bad that we've actually been able to kind of tuck away. For you, how important is it to have the proper network around you in order to be successful?
Oh, it's everything. My best friend is still my best friend, and she became my best friend at 10. So I have a tight circle and a tight group because I believe in energy. So I'm an energy person, and I know that I have a high energy. And my coach I am at UConn, he used to say there's two type of people. There's people that subtract or people that add. And he's like, you're either a spark for the team or you're an outlet and you're taking away from the team. You're taking the energy and electricity away from the team. So I know that I'm a spark plug. I have that energy. So I can't be around people that are negative all the time or always have a problem for every solution. I can't be around those people because they drain me of my energy. So I knew that young. My parents talked to me young about that. Like, you can't just keep giving to people. Like, you got to have people that give back to you. And
Right.
they were talking about energy when I was young, and at that time I thought they were talking about like gifts. But then as I got older, I'm like, oh, I see what she's saying. Like, those people will drain you. They're energy drainers, people that are just mad about life. They're mad about everything. They're mad about their job. They're mad about their relationship. They're mad about everything. And they're not doing anything to fix it. That I can't be around that type of energy. So I've been very particular about like my circle.
What was the best part of your collegiate experience that you were able to take over to professional that gave you the lessons and the focus?
I
Because I
would
know
say
they're two different leagues, right?
they
Because
are. They
once
are.
you leave, you think, well, especially the transition from high school to college, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm the man, like I'm the it girl. Like
Yeah.
I go to UConn and you're like, yeah, wow, look at all the talent here, right? And then there's levels. Like Meek Mill says, there's levels to this, and you've hit
They
all
are.
three levels, right?
Yeah. So I would say what I learned at UConn that kind of changed my whole world was that I used to like do stuff until I could get it right. Like, I used to work on that ball handling that I talked about. And then when I would be able to kill it, I would be like, yes, all right. And then Coach Emma would be like, okay, and he'd be like, you need to do it so many times that like you can't even get it wrong. Like, you're so good at it that like if
Mm.
you get it wrong, that's a surprise. So then he was like, so do you think if you did that 10 times in a row, you would get it right 10 times in a row? And I was like, I just got it right that first. I was hype about
Wow.
just now getting it right that first time. So he kind of changed my whole thought process of how I think about stuff. Like, I don't do something until I can do it right. I do it until like it's innate in me and that I can't do it wrong. And I think just with TV now, like there's a lot of scripted things that I have to do and things of that nature. That thought process, like I don't practice stuff or work on stuff until like, all right, I think I got it. Like, because some people are like, all right, I think I got it. Like, that's a saying. Like, I do it until like that's me. Like, this is me. This script, this role, this hosting gig, this is me. So I do it until this is me.
Well, people say practice makes perfect, but I say practice makes permanent. When you do it as
Mhm.
perfect as possible. So
Yeah.
I think young people need to understand when you get to certain levels, there's a discipline, like you mentioned earlier, that comes along with this hard work that comes along with it. You working on your brand during COVID has allowed you and blessed you with the opportunity to get some situations on the table. I want to talk about those.
Yeah.
Uh, how has this been a blessing to you?
Oh man, so it's crazy because I told you I opted out of the 2020 season. I still have a house note, a car note, and I don't have a job. And within the I opted out on June 18th. And right now I don't know the exact date, but it's about 2 months out. And since then, I've had three jobs. The first job I got was to be the co-host of TMZ Sports, and when they called me, I'm like, "What?" Like it was like like it was almost out of the blue, and they were like, "Look, we're looking for a host. We want somebody that's in tune with the climate. We want to be, like they brands now are trying to be in tune with the climate, and they want to make sure that they're hiring that way." And
Right.
so for them to say that to me, that's one of the reasons why they wanted to. They said as you talked about, they've checked out my social media, which anybody watching, your social media is your resume. So they checked out my social media. They asked a couple of people about me, for like previous employers, because that's how things work. And
Right.
they literally, they offered me the job. I didn't even have to audition pretty much. Like, like I got the job off of my reputation. And so for me, that was the coolest thing ever. Cause this is the world that I wanted to be in after basketball anyway. So to get that role. And then after that, NBA TV called me. They said they want to do a show, all things WNBA. They want me to spearhead it. I'm like, what? And so then that happened. And then Harvey, TMZ Harvey, everybody should know TMZ Harvey, Justin
I
Bieber.
know TMZ.
TMZ Harvey, yeah. So then he hit me, and that was not out yet. So something else is coming up. So I'm like, yo, wow. Like that leap of faith turned into this beautiful thing. And I had no idea that this was going to happen.
Now, some people are very afraid of stepping out on faith, right? I give this example to people all the time. Even when we're sitting here right now, when you sat down in that chair, you believe that the chair will hold you up.
Oh my God.
And people, they can't really grasp that concept. Like every time you sit down, you believe that
I have to stop you because, excuse me, do you know that my dad, he's like a deacon. He does Bible says he does that. He says that all the time. So I'm very aware of chairs because that's one of his things. He says like he'll ask people, do you have faith? And some people be like, no, I'm not really a faith person. He'd be like, you sat down in that chair, didn't you? So that is like, wow, that's crazy. I have to shout out my Diddy and you, cause that's crazy.
Diddy, I thank you for preaching those things because we all need them. We need to be reminded time and time again. So for me, Renee, so proud of the steps, right? Stepping out on faith, getting these opportunities. What's next for you?
What's next for me is just, well, we haven't even talked a lot about the social stuff. So I'm actually going to move into that because that's my passion projects. If you don't mind me calling it that, in a sense that, so Morris Brown, I live here in Atlanta, and Morris Brown is an HBCU that's like, one of the front runners for the richest tradition, all the history, founded by a former slave, all the bells and whistles. Young people might know Morris Brown from Drumline. I think P.D. Pablo came out with the band, but the reason they were on Drumline is because of their history, because they are known to have this high class marching band that is just excellent. Well, they lost their accreditation 20 years ago, and 17 months ago, they are on the path to get it back. They zeroed out their debt. And so my whole goal, because people are like, well, how will you know it's worth it? And for me, I was like, it's already worth it. But for the people, the business people that basically want ROIs, the return on my investment for sitting out, I'm going to try to get Morris Brown back to like its thriving days, get it accredited, and get students back there, get the professors back, and just get it back to where it was, because everyone recognizes that in this climate, schools are struggling. Everyone recognizes that. But think about HBCUs. We talk about Black Lives Matter. HBCUs matter. It's equivalent in the school system. So I think that right now, to save some of that history and keep that school up and running, I think that would be a staple. That would be setting the tone for moving forward.
And if there's any way we can be of help, please don't hesitate.
I am
coming. The connections run deep. So trust me, we'll be there to help you. We'll be behind you 1,000%. For you, how important is it? We know we've been fighting for equality in corporate America for women, especially women of color. How important is it now as you're stepping out into this realm, being in the forefront, fighting the good fight, that we really try to tackle equality when it comes to women in sports?
Oh man, it's crazy because before this season, the trolls are going to troll, right? It's just a thing. Like every tweet I tweet, there's going to be trolls. But it's very interesting what's happening because, a lot of people thought that it's which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? People are like, women's basketball, the trolls were like, women's basketball is not on TV because no one wants to see it. And I'm like, well, if women's basketball was on TV, I think people would enjoy it. So fast forward to now, we're in a pandemic. TV stations don't have a lot going on. So women's basketball, there's like a game on every day. And all of a sudden you see brands, you see companies, you see a lot of people now wanting to throw some money at the WNBA. You see even an NBA TV, there's a show now about the WNBA. That's never happened before. So now you start to see, well, wait a minute. Now that the women are on TV more, brands are more interested. Imagine that. People thought it was the other way around. Women aren't on TV because brands aren't interested. It's not that way. So now that they're starting to see exposure equals sponsorship, now it's starting to see that, it wasn't women's basketball that people weren't enjoying, that brands didn't want it. They just didn't know about the players. You know, they didn't know about the WNBA. They didn't know what we were all about. So now that everyone sees the stance that the WNBA players as well as myself are taking, they're almost surprised. But then when they do their history, they're like, oh, wow, they were doing this in 2016. Yeah. So then now people are starting to catch on, and it's a beautiful thing. Twitter picked up, I think, 13 more games, and you can just see the business happening with the WNBA all because of exposure. So I think that the thing that needs to happen is we need more exposure. That'll help level the playing field, because the more exposure we get, now those brands will want to be attached to us.
Which means more revenue and more TV time and more advertising.
Money. And that, you know, so it's a trickle effect, more revenue and then more TV time. And those TV packages are what made the NBA have these supermax contracts. If people don't know, TV contracts are huge. So when you sign these huge TV deals, that money starts trickling down to the players. And that's how it happens. So right now we're in those first stages of how it happens.
And I will argue, as I do a lot pretty often now, is watching. I've been a WNBA fan for quite some time, because my girls went to UConn, and I followed them into the league. And to me, the WNBA is fundamentally sound. Yeah, you may not have any dunking and the trash talking, but if you want to see some good, solid, fundamentally sound basketball, the WNBA is where it's at. So I thank you for being one of those people that came to the league and really put your footprint in it. Coming from UConn, great program. Shout out to Gino Oriema.
And I thank you, because you have been one of those people. You know, that's why right now he said June Archer. He just put him fast track him on the schedule. But that's why, because you've walked the walk and you talked the talk, but you've also walked the walk in a sense that you've been a supporter. So I appreciate allies that were with us from the beginning.
No, and I appreciate it. And now, Renee Montgomery, we're going to play a little game called University of Dope. We're going to have a little fun with this. And I promise you're going to have some fun. So we'll take it from here. You ready to go?
I'm ready. Let's get it.
All right. The game is called University of Dope, and we are now playing with my good friend, Renee Montgomery. First question, Renee.
What is
Best Thug Love collaboration. Always on Time, Ja Rule featuring Ashanti. You're All I Need. Method Man. What's it gonna be? Busta Rhymes and Janet, or Best of Me, Maya featuring Jay-Z?
Ooh. What's it gonna be? Busta Rhymes, Janet Jackson. C. Final answer.
All right.
Oh, this is hard.
Reporting live from the Friend Zone. Pick the Friend Zone anthem. Marvin's Room, Drake, I Wish, Skilo, I Got a Man, Positive K, or Just a Friend, Biz Markie.
Ooh, hey, Marvin's Room, Drake. Don't drink and Drake. Let's see.
If someone wanted to experience hip hop for the first time, what album would you give them? Low End Theory, Tribe Called Quest, Enter the Wu-Tang Clan, Straight Outta Compton, NWA, or Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim?
C, Straight Outta Compton, NWA.
All right.
I like this, Jude. Okay.
Stay in your lane. Who should try to stop singing? Is it Wyclef, Lil Wayne, Ja Rule, or Drake?
Lil Wayne.
You ain't right.
You know, he's like auto-tune king, that tone, but it was between him and Ja Rule.
One gotta go. J. Cole, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, or Childish Gambino?
I know you didn't. I know you lying. Let me see. Oh gosh. Sorry, Childish Gambino. D. Why you do that? That's not fun.
Erase one person from hip hop history. Who would it be? Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, Lauryn Hill, or Missy Elliott?
Oh my gosh, Jen, you said this would be fun. Oh my goodness. D, Missy, I'm feeling bad. What are you doing? You don't even give us an easy out, D, Missy. Woo.
Stay Woke. Best politically conscious song. Fight the Power, Public Enemy, F the Police, NWA, Hip Hop, Dead Prez, or My President, Jeezy?
Oh gosh, see, my Jeezy pops up first. Fight the Power. A, Public Enemy.
All right. Worst rapper in Hollywood. Two of these guys have been having a hard time, but
oh no.
A, Will Smith, B, Nick Cannon, C, Bow Wow, or D, Marky Mark?
Oh my goodness. B, Nick Cannon. I feel bad because he's one of the guys that's having a hard time. So you don't want to kick somebody while they're down. Goodness.
All right.
That was fun. Oh, we're still going. I like this.
Erase one person from hip hop history. Who would it be? Nas, Notorious B.I.G.,
No.
Tupac, or Jay-Z?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Hey. Oh my gosh. No, I take it back. You need to quit. I don't want to play this game. Okay,
Who would it be, Renee?
A final answer. I'll take it. A final answer.
Any final answer?
I don't just because I love Jay-Z and I love the other one. I can't. No, I'm not playing no more games with you. If that's the kind of games you play, I don't want to play.
Renee, thank you so much for playing University of Dope. Wow. Music is a soundtrack to our lives. For you, which is the song or artist that best represents your journey up to this point?
I would say Drake. Because he started independent, doing his own thing, and then he started to get more and more attention, and then he was ready. I think Drake was ready for the moment, and that's why when the moment came and he got signed, he took off. So I would say Drake.
For those who are trying to live their best life, for those who are trying to make it through quarantine, make it through this racial oppression, trying to find a job, trying to go back to school, all these things that are piling up, and they're seeing these roadblocks, what is the best piece of advice you could give someone who's watching and listening today to help them get through this tough time? And I always believed, and I'm sure Diddy would tell you this, this too shall pass.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? But what is the best piece of advice you could give someone that's struggling to see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Listen, I always say start now. Everybody always waits on that perfect moment, right? Like that perfect moment to start their business, to start their blog, to start whatever. But you'd be surprised at things you can learn on the internet. YouTube University is a thing. I really believe that. Like certain things I don't know, I Google it. I figure out how. You will really be surprised what you could do sitting in your chair right now at your house. So I would say research it, whatever. You might not have the job, a paying job, but create yourself a skill set. You can learn a skill set online that could create a job or figure out ways to create a job. But whatever you do something. Don't let this moment just drag you down and keep dragging you down, and you get so far down that you feel like you can't get up. Just get up now and try to do something.
You heard it here. Renee McGovern tells you, do it now. Put some tools in that toolkit that you, soon as you get out of this COVID situation, because we will get out of it, you are very prepared and you have the skills necessary to make your dreams come true. Renee, thank you so much for joining the show. I'm so happy that we had this time.
Me too, Jim. Thank you.
And we're going to do this again. Listen, Harvey, you got the right woman, Harvey. I'm trying to tell you. TMZ is going to be blessed because of it exponentially. So, and I'm certain there'll be so many more opportunities. And the ones that are right for you, you will know. What's for you is for you. And I promise you, if you keep doing what you're doing, Renee, you're going to be a blessing not only to those around you, but those globally. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep making those videos too. All right.
I'm with it. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Please make sure you love someone. Tell someone you love someone. Do a random act of kindness. I promise you it comes back 100-fold, and you'll be surprised. It'll be a blessing to you. This is June Archer for the Winner Circle. Motivate you. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Y'all be good.